Hey guys, my name is JC and welcome to today's gameplay video featuring Teysa Karlov. If you enjoy the deck and you want to play something similar, go check out the deck tech we have for Teysa on the channel. Otherwise, let's get to the game. Okay, so looking at our opening hand, we don't have a lot of anything going on at the moment. One land just isn't going to do, so we're definitely going to have to mulligan this. That second hand doesn't have a lot going on, but we do have a Gift of Immortality and a Nested Shambler, so we can do a really fun trick of basically recurring that every turn. So look, I think I'm just going to keep it, because if we draw into anything good, this hand turns into something pretty special, so we'll keep on this one, and just hope that our draws are pretty good. At the very least, we've got our land set up, so we're not going to be missing any land drops for the next couple of turns. Okay, so Sidisi plays a basic swamp, and they end the turn there. Adeline plays a basic plains, and they also pass the turn. Malcolm Breeches plays a mountain into a Sol Ring, and that's it for them. Okay, so we draw into a Bolas' Citadel. Good card, but we're not close to casting that just yet, so I think we're just going to put down a Shattered Sanctum tapped, and then we'll leave the turn there. I'm not in a rush to get the Nested Shambler down at the moment. Sidisi plays a swamp, and it looks like they're passing the turn again, leaving 2 mana up. Adeline plays a plains into a Brave the Sands. Creatures you control have vigilance, and each creature you control can block an additional creature each combat. Good card for Adeline, for sure. This is the first time I'm actually playing against an Adeline deck, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it can do. And that is their turn. They play an island. Now, do we see Malcolm come down here? Yep, and it looks like we do. We see Malcolm being cast. And that is their turn. Okay, so for us, we draw a Junji, which means that we're starting to draw some of our higher mana valued cards, which we don't necessarily want to see at the moment. So I think it's pretty simple. We just play a swamp here, we'll get our Nested Shambler down, and then we'll just leave the turn there. Sidisi plays a swamp, and we see a Shield Sphere come down. Looks like some good sack fodder there for Sidisi. And they once again leave their passing the turn. So I'm not too sure if they do have a bit of interaction in their hand, or they just want to simply hold on to the cards they have in their hand at the moment. Adeline plays a plains, and we see a Welcoming Vampire into the battlefield. So it looks like Adeline's getting their card draw engine online. And at the moment for them it looks great because there's not really too many creatures down that are threatening blocks here, so they may be able to hold on to those creatures. And it looks like that's their turn. Malcolm Breeches plays an island, and they tap out for a Captain Lannery Storm. So they're really going to be getting their mana acceleration going here. Now, who are they going to swing into? Looks like they're sending Malcolm towards Sidisi, and we see Captain Lannery Storm coming our way. So we're going to choose not to block here. We want to keep our sack fodder around. So the Malcolm Breeches player is getting off to quite a good start here. They're definitely not going to have any problems with mana over the next couple of turns from the looks of things. And that's their turn there, and they have access to 5 open mana. And we draw a Luminous Broodmoth. So that's quite a good card. Now the question we have here is, do we cast the Gift of Immortality onto the Nested Shambler, or do we hold onto it for Junji, which is going to have a far more significant impact? Look, the Malcolm player is looking pretty dangerous, and they do have open mana, so I don't even know if the Gift of Immortality is going to resolve here. So I think at the moment, I might just slow roll it a little bit. So I'll just play out the Caves of Koilos, and I'm just going to sit back with some open mana. Make our opponents think that we also have some access to some form of removal. That's what Orzhov is notorious for having very good removal, so... And we'll just pass it there. Sidisi casts a Paradise Mantle, and then they move to equip it. They play a swamp, and it looks like they're passing the turn there. Adeline plays a plains, and casts a Crashing Drawbridge. Great card in that deck, so they can get Adeline swinging straight away, and that triggers the Welcoming Vampire. And then they get a Suture Priest down. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, they can gain a life, and whenever it enters under an opponent's control, they can have that player lose a life. So that's a little bit of a problem for us, because when we get our little drain effects out ourselves, that can counteract it, so we'll definitely have to look to remove that at some point, once we do get our own engines online. And it looks like Adeline's leaving the turn there. Okay, and so the Malcolm player casts their Breeches now. And this is a really good thing about that partner combination, is they have access to mana and card advantage. So now we just got to hope that they don't hit anything really good off the top of our library, because they're probably going to have the mana to be able to cast whatever they hit as well. So let's just keep fingers crossed that it's a couple of lands they hit. Captain Lannery triggers, making a treasure. And it looks like we have the same attacks happening again. So I am going to let the damage through again, as much as I don't want to, but I want to keep this Nested Shambler around for when we eventually get Teysa out. Okay, so we're very lucky there. They only get a swamp off of us and a Glacial Chasm from one of the other players. And it looks like that's it for their turn. So we draw into a high market, so that's good. We do have a sack outlet online, albeit one that we can only use once per turn. So we'll play our swamp for the turn. Now the real choices we have here is we can put the Luminous Broodmoth down so we can actually start blocking with the Nested Shambler, bring it back a little bit. We could also get Teysa down as well. That's also an option. Because basically next turn we can get down Junji and have that set up for us ready to go. Though we won't be able to sack it straight away either because we'll probably need to play the high market to do it. It's pretty close, but I think we'll actually get the Luminous Broodmoth down here. It's got good body there so we can start blocking whatever the opponents send towards our way. And we're just going to pass the turn there. We see a Swamp come down, and we see Sidisi get cast now. So we're definitely going to see here if the Malcolm Breeches player has any interaction on the stack, because I don't think they're going to want that to resolve. Sidisi being a tutor on the stick, but it looks like it does. And they exploit the shield sphere here, so they're keeping their Sidisi around at the moment. And so do we see a response here from Malcolm Breeches? And we actually see them casting an Abrade targeting the Krasin drawbridge, so they don't want Adeline to be able to swing out straight away. We're happy with that. We don't probably want to see Adeline get too crazy either. Now it'd be interesting here to see if Sidisi actually tutors for something to answer the board. They could look for a board wipe here, seeing as we've all got some decent creatures down. Okay, so they move to equip the Paradise Mantle to Sidisi, and that's it for their turn. If they do end up tutoring for a board wipe, we're fine. We can set up with Luminous Broodmoth and essentially get some of the creatures back anyway. Adeline plays a Plains, and they cast their commander, and that triggers the Suture Priest. Now unfortunately for the Adeline player, Adeline does come in with 3 power, so it won't get a trigger off of the Welcoming Vampire. And they leave the turn there with 2 mana up. So it looks like they're moving straight to combat. And this time it looks like Captain Lannery Storm is attacking the Adeline player. Seems the Malcolm Breeches player has taken a little bit of time thinking about if they want to do that or not. And they send Malcolm over towards the Sidisi player. And it looks like we have Breeches coming over our way. And I'm actually just going to let it go through here because Breeches has Menace and I don't want to risk losing our Luminous Broodmoth. Now are we going to get lucky again and Breeches is going to have a bit of a miss from us? So it looks like they got a Knight of the White Orchid off of us. Again, we're pretty happy for that, so seems we've gotten lucky again. They did get a reanimate, but I don't think there's anything worthy in the graveyard at the moment of them getting. So far so good. And we're getting very close to being able to cast this Bolas's Citadel anyway, so we can hold out just a little bit longer. We should be able to have a fairly explosive turn when we get to it. What I really want to do here is get the Gift of Immortality onto Junji. That's where our opponents are going to be in quite a bit of trouble if we end up resolving that. And it's kind of the dream situation that you have when you put Gift of Immortality in a sacrifice deck like this. So it looks like the Malcolm Breeches player does cast the Reanimate targeting the Shield Sphere. So I'm not too sure why they're doing that at the moment, whether they just want that as a blocker. And they are casting the Devout Chaplain. So you tap it, tap 2 untap humans you control to exile target artifact or enchantment. That won't be good for us trying to get the Bolas's Citadel down and keeping it down. Fortunately, that's what cards like Brought Back are for in the deck, to be able to bring it back, but we're a little bit away of doing both of those, so... And now they cast the Knight of the Wild Orchid off of us. So they do have access to a lot of mana at the moment. 4 cards in hand, so we just got to hope that what they have in their hand isn't too bad, but it looks like they're passing the turn there. And we draw a Hunted Witness for the turn. So we'll play the High Market. Now I think our 2 choices at the moment here are really to get down Junji on its own and then we leave it passing the turn, but we don't have a way to sacrifice it straight away, so if it does get exiled, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for us. If we get down Teysa, we can get down Teysa and the Hunted Witness as well. That might not be a bad idea, at least until we can get a sack outlet online for Junji straight away. I don't think I want to put the Gift of Immortality on any of these yet. I really want to save it for Junji, so I think that's what we're going to go for. So we'll get our commander down here, and then we'll finish up by casting our Hunted Witness. And I think we'll just leave the turn there. So surprisingly, what we really want to see next turn is just a land. That's going to be exactly what we want to see. So let's hope for the best there. And just hope that the Malcolm Breeches player doesn't get too far ahead in the meantime. So the Sidisi player casts an Ad Nauseam, and they're on quite a high life total, so we'll see what they end up getting here. Oh, but it looks like the Malcolm Breeches player might have something to say about it. And they cast a Lookout's Dispersal. Costs 1 less to cast if you control a pirate, which they definitely do. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. So we're very happy to see that, and it looks like they did have a counter spell in their hand the whole time. Very fortunate that they saved it for the right moment. So that shuts down the Sidisi's plan, at least for this turn. And that's it for their turn. Adeline plays a Plains, and they cast an Archetype of Courage. Creatures you control have first strike, and creatures your opponents control lose first strike and can't have or gain first strike. Okay, that's a very good card for what they're doing. And that also triggers their Welcoming Vampire, so they can draw a card here. And then they cast a Promise of Bunray. When a creature you control dies, sacrifice it. If you do, create 4 1/1 colorless spirit creature tokens. And so we see Adeline attack and trigger, and they're moving in on the Sidisi player. So I'm guessing the Ad Nauseam put a little bit of fear into them. And we do have one of the tokens going over at Sidisi, and then the other 2 spread out amongst both of us. So I won't block here. And the Promise of Bunray triggers. and they get a bunch of Suture Priest triggers. And then they're also going to get 4 Spirit tokens now. So our life total is starting to get down there a little bit. We have to watch that now because we definitely need to use that life for Bolas' Citadel. But it looks like they leave the turn there. Now the Malcolm Breeches player has access to a lot of mana, but they don't have a lot of cards in their hand, which may be the only thing that's preventing us from losing the game here. So it looks like they're moving straight to combat, and they're sending Breeches towards Sidisi. Malcolm's coming in towards us, and Captain Lannery's Storm is going in towards the Adeline player. So I am going to block here. If they have any tricks, we'll soon see it. And Adeline looks to be blocking with 2 Spirit tokens onto the Captain Lannery Storm. And at instant speed, they cast a Fiery Cannonade to deal 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. So for us, that's not too bad, except for the fact we'll lose the Luminous Broodmoth here, but we're going to come out of it relatively unscathed, thanks to Teysa's big butt and our creatures coming straight back. So we have a bunch of triggers go on the stack. And so our board state after all of that doesn't look too bad. We actually look like we're ahead. Even though we're not, we look like we are. The most important thing is we do have some lifelink in bodies now, so that we can actually start gaining some life to put into that Bolas' Citadel. And so they only get a Swamp. They're nothing too good, but they go to recast their Malcolm again. So really so far we've been pretty lucky that the Breeches hasn't really been hitting anything good off the top of the library. And they cast a Commander Sphere. So they're very low on cards now. And that looks like it's their turn. So let's see what we draw into. Hopefully we get the land. Ah, beautiful. We got it. We got it. Okay, well, we'll have a quick think through here. We don't want to get too overly excited. There is every chance that that one card in the hand could be a counterspell, which is going to make us feel really bad. But really at the moment, if we play Junji, there's also a really good chance that gets countered as well. Gift of Immortality, I think we still want to hold on to here. So look, I think we probably do have to go for it here with Bolas' Citadel. If we're unlucky that the blue player has something, then we're just unlucky. But we do have to do it now while our opponents are all tapped out. So let's just hope for the best. Let's hope it resolves. And then let's also hope that we don't have a land on top of the library, because that would also probably be equally as bad. Okay, so it looks like it resolves. And we have a Dark Prophecy on the top of our library, so we're definitely going to cast that because we want to start getting our hands refilled ASAP. Now we do have a Plains on top, but luckily we can get around that if our opponents just block one of our creatures when we go to attack. So I think we'll move to combat here. And look, I think we'll actually spread out our attacks here. So hopefully one of our opponents takes the bait. So we'll send our 2 soldiers towards Sidisi. We'll get our squirrels going towards Adeline. And then we'll send our last 2 in at the Malcolm Breeches player. Absolute worst case scenario, we gain 4 life just to build ourselves back up a little bit. Okay, so we do have a block there. That's great. It's exactly what we want to see. And we see another block coming here as well. Beautiful. So our opponents are taking the bait here. Okay, so let's see what we draw off the Dark Prophecy. So we got our Plains first. We got another land there, so that's good. We'll filter those off the top. Another land and a Command the Dreadhorde. That's a very, very good card. It's a very good card. So we'll take that. And a Smothering Abomination. So it looks like we've run into a few of our really, really good card advantage engines here. So I think we will cast the Smothering Abomination here. Just so if the board does get wiped, we'll definitely have a very full hand. And a Grim Haruspex. All of those card advantage cards seem to be all piled up in one. Look, I think we will cast it here. We're a black player. We're all about paying life. And we hit a land off of the top. So it looks like that's probably going to be it for us for now. But I'm liking our position a lot more here. So we're just going to leave the turn here and hope we can untap with the Bolas' Citadel. So the Sidisi player casts a Yawgmoth's Will. And they have just enough mana to cast their Ad Nauseam again. Now, we're in a funny situation here. We can, in response, activate Bolas' Citadel to have them lose 10 life to reduce their effects. The only problem is, with the Dark Prophecy out, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we'll be losing 18 life, which will actually kill us. So as much as I'd like to do that, unfortunately I can't. So we're going to have to let this resolve. But that would have been a very fun play to actually do. So let's see what they're actually getting here. So as you can see, there's a lot of cards here that are very low curved. We have a lot of 0 and 1 drops here. A lot of lands being hit at the moment. A Dark Ritual, that's something good that they want to be able to see. Another Tutor. And it looks like they stopped there at 3 life. And they cast a Lion's Eye Diamond. Oh, the Malcolm Breeches player, yep, they sacrificed their Commander Sphere to draw a card, hoping to find an answer here. Now, actually, on second thoughts, looking at this, if we actually sacrifice Bolas' Citadel itself and leave one creature alive, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that means we actually lose 16 life. So we could actually do this. So we might just wait and see. But I forgot that Bolas' Citadel can actually sacrifice itself. So I think we might actually do that. We'll wait and see what happens. But once we see the game win and play come out, we're going to do that. We're going to sack it in response. It probably means that we're going to lose because our opponents just have to send a stiff breeze our way and we're going to be out of the game. But look, we're not going down without a fight. And that's the thing about Bolas' Citadel. No one really pays attention to that second ability because it often isn't relevant. Until it is. So they play a Mana Crypt. Then they cast an Ornithopter. They also play an Expedition map. And they play a Guster's Scepter. Exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at it as long as it remains exiled. Tap, return a card you own with Guster's Scepter to your hand. When you lose control of it, put all cards exiled with it into their owner's graveyards. Interesting. And they move to equip Paradise Mantle to the Ornithopter. Now they cast a Phyrexian Walker. And I think our opponent just actually saw the Citadel line there. I just checked chat, so they've conceded. So it looks like we got lucky there. And that's what I really enjoy about this Teysa Karlov deck. It can be complicated at times, but it has some very rewarding lines of play. Okay, so it looks like Adeline cast an Oresco Explorer. When it ETBs, search your library for up to X Plains cards, where X is the number of players who control more lands than you. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. So thanks to the threat of our Bolas' Citadel, we managed to play on. And now they cast a Leonin War Leader. Very good card when attacking with Adeline. When it attacks, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. So they attack with the Welcoming Vampire, triggering Adeline. And they're swinging in at the Malcolm Breeches player. Great for us. And it looks like they're sending 1 token to Malcolm Breeches and 1 token our way. So we are going to block here because we want to see more cards in our hand. And we really want to dig towards a drain effect. That's what we're really hoping for at the moment. Either that or a massive token maker. So I'm going to put a Noble Squirrel in front of this one here. And actually, it would make more sense. We're actually going to put all of our lifelink tokens in front because it doesn't matter. Only one of them's going to die. But we'll gain the 3 life from it. Counteract some of the life loss from our other cards. And that's lucky we did because there's just another land on top. Now, are we still going to be lucky and the Malcolm Breeches player isn't going to have anything too crazy to do with access to all that mana at the moment? So they cast a Charter Course. So they are digging here for something relevant. And they cast a Jeska's Will, which is very, very bad for us. We're enabling something pretty bad there. So, but we've got to go through with it. So let's see what they hit. And they hit a Sky Diamond and 2 lands. Okay, well, we've been getting very lucky this whole game with the poor Malcolm Breeches player not necessarily hitting anything too crazy. So we'll take it. Better to be lucky than good, as they say. So they send the Captain Lannery Storm in over at the Adeline player. And we get the Breeches coming our way. So I'm going to block here with 2 creatures. Because I want to keep digging further down into our deck. And also prevent them from hitting anything good off the top of our library. Which at the moment we know is the Morbid Opportunist. Okay, so let's draw some cards from that. So we have a Bloodgust. That's not too bad. Gives us a bit of recursion. We have a land. And a Pitiless Plunderer. That's a very good card. Well, that's going to start to give us some mana. We really just need a sack outlet in our hand. That's the last piece we're missing to really be able to go off here. And a Dictate of Erebos on the top. Okay, well, that's going to be big problems for our opponents now. They're currently relying on their creatures to get all of their big effects. So I'm pretty happy with the way we're looking here. We just got to hope that they don't have a counterspell in their hand, which I'm feeling relatively confident they don't. But we'll wait and see. So we have the Smothering Abomination trigger. We'll sacrifice our Hunted Witness here. Okay, and there we go. So we can see a Viscera Seer on the top. We're drawing that into our hands. So I think we got most of what we need to pretty much do what we need to do here. What would be really great to see is a drain effect. We see Teysa come and Loyal Warhound. And we have a Faith's Reward as well, which is going to be really great. That can bring everything back at instant speed. So we'll have a quick look in our graveyard because we do have the Command the Dreadhorde here. We'll see if our opponents have anything. I might be looking at that Suture Priest to actually counteract the life loss that we're having here. And there's not a whole lot in that one there that I want to see. Alright, so what I think we'll do to start off with is we will get our sack outlet down. So we'll cast our Viscera Seer. Then I want to get down our Pitiless Plunderer to start generating some mana. And right now we're going to see the real power of Pitiless Plunderer with Teysa out. So we'll play a land off the top of our library. Okay, so there's a Phyrexian Reclamation on top. So I think we'll actually cast that and we'll see what else we have on top. A Plumb the Forbidden. don't think we want to do that just yet because it's going to be too much life. So I think from here we'll start sacrificing some of our tokens. So we're going to sacrifice one of our Noble Soldier tokens here and get one of many triggers going on the stack. Draw land, Savin's Reclamation. We're going to move that to the bottom because we don't want to see that at the moment. And we have a Live in Death. That is a good card, but not what I want to see. So we'll go digging again. We're going to sacrifice another token. We're pretty much trying to go all in here at the moment. Land. We'll make some more treasure. This is definitely a deck that you can't just play at the end of the day. When you're at your LGS, you've definitely got to have your thinking cap on. We'll move that to the bottom. Oh, and we have a Meat Hook Massacre. Okay, that's what we want to see now. That's definitely what we want to see. So let's cast that. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter if we put 0 into the X because we're really just after the Aristocrat effect here. So we do want to start getting some bodies down. So I think I'm going to sacrifice that. We're going to get our Teysa down, our second Teysa, because she's going to start making spirits for us every time we sacrifice a black creature to give us more bodies here to be able to do it. So we can start making our opponents lose life, but we've still got to find a way of gaining life ourselves. And we have a Rite of Oblivion there. So we're actually going to cast that targeting our own Dark Prophecy because that's what's actually killing us at the moment. So we'll keep that on top and we'll sacrifice our Squirrel token. And I think we do have our opponents here now. It's going to be quite a timing process. So I'm glad that they've sat through it so far. I don't know how lucky we're going to get with that going forward, but we'll see. Okay, so we're on 1 life, and if this isn't a black player playing like a black player would, then I don't know what else would be. So we've got so many cards in our hand at the moment. At this point, it can get quite confusing what you actually want to do here, but we'll have a quick look. We've got enough mana here, so let's start. We'll get down a body, get down our Elenda the Dusk Rose here. We'll also cast our Doomed Traveler to get some more bodies down. So I just actually sent a message to my opponents just letting them know I think I have it here because I know what it's like sitting through these plays sometimes and that, so I'll see if they want to keep playing through or not. But this is essentially the deck. When you get the engine online, a lot does happen and it can turn some people off because it is quite a lot of triggers and things to remember. Yep, so that's one opponent that's definitely seen enough. But it is a really fun deck to play. Like it really does reward you for thinking through your plays properly, and it punishes you as well. But as you can see, you can win this thing on 1 life, and it feels damn good when you do. I'll tell you that much. It feels really, really good. So one of our opponents has conceded, but the other one's happy for us to play through, so I'll definitely thank them for that. So let's keep going through here. Now, do we have any more bodies that we can put down for cheap at the moment? No, we'll start sacrificing here then. So let's sacrifice our Doomed Traveler. So I will just keep going with this, guys, but I'm going to fast forward it a little bit for you so you don't have to watch me go through all the triggers, and we'll see where we end up at the end step. But essentially, I'm sacking as many bodies as I can. I'm getting rid of some of our card draw sources so we don't actually deck ourselves here. And the aim is to get Elenda as big as possible. So when we sacrifice her, we get all the tokens out and then drain our opponent out completely. My opponent just told me that they didn't realize that I had Teysa out. Now, I'm not too sure if he's talking about the original one or the new one. I think he's talking about the new one though, which is making these extra spirits. So they might have thought that I didn't have enough to actually drain them out completely. And we just got down the Dictate of Erebos then, just to really make sure our opponent has no creatures left on the board. So that might be the final nail in the coffin for them if they didn't think it was over now. Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact, absolute powerhouses in these decks. Basically, once you get it out, you can be almost guaranteed that even with just the engine semi-online, it just clears the board up and your opponents have a real struggle of keeping anything down until they get rid of it. And our opponent conceded there. So that's it, guys. Well, thank you for joining me in today's game, and let's go see the wrap-up. So the outcome of that game was due to a number of factors. Firstly, we were off to a slow start, but we did have cards in our hand that were powerful and could definitely turn the tides for us if the game went long enough. The Sidisi player was also off to a relatively slow start, and it seems that they were really banking on being able to resolve an ad nauseam uncontested. Fortunately for us, the Malcolm Breeches player did 2 things for us. They stopped the ad nauseam when it came first, but they also had some big misses on their Breeches triggers, which resulted in them having a lot of mana, but not a lot to do with it. The Adeline players seemed to be getting close to setting up, but they just never landed that key piece to really let them take off in the game. Oh, and we can't forget the key moment when Bolas' Citadel's second ability became so relevant that it actually stopped us from losing the game there and then. So all those factors combined were what helped us take home the game today. Teysa Karlov is a fun, layered deck that keeps you thinking from start to finish. Just don't pull it out at the end of the day when you've had a really long run of games. But that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the game, and I hope to see you next time. Until then.